Good evening, everybody. Couple of forced days off from streaming due to my internet provider not updating its DNS entries. I'm not going to force anybody to take a mod. The only person I modded is someone who asked for it. So yeah, they got the DNS fixed and I can go into the news again. So I'm going to go through the third, but I wanted to come back and touch on the operational information that I should have gone over yesterday that I couldn't load up. Yesterday there was 167 combat clashes. 1 missile and 56 airstrikes that used 81 bombs, 437 kamikaze drones, 3,000 shots on the positions of our troops. Kharkiv 8 attacks, Kupiansk 13 attacks, Lyman 16 times, 7 attacks in Seversk, Kramatorsk was 1, Toretsk 3 glide bombs, and there we go, 8 attacks in that area. Pokrovsk 11 attacks. Kharkiv direction was 51 attacks. 14 attacks in Vermitsk, 4 attacks in Orikhiv, and 3 attacks in Dnieper. The units of note for the second was the 406th, the 128th, the 38th, the 79th, and the 68th. Let's get back to the third. So we're back on track here. The defense forces of Ukraine continue to hold back the onslaught of occupying forces. The situation in Pokrovsk and Kharkiv directions remains tense. The enemy is concentrating the main offensive efforts there. In addition, the occupiers are actively attacking in the Lyman direction today. So far, 160 combat clashes have taken place. The terrorist state launched a missile strike with 1 missile, 62 airstrikes, dropping 84 glide bombs, and 582 kamikaze drones. Russia also carried out more than 3,500 attacks on the positions of our troops and populated areas. Even that's a significant step up from yesterday. And of course, as always, they start with the Kharkiv direction. Russian terrorists unsuccessfully stormed the positions of our units in the Voschansk district 4 times and also dropped aerial bombs on Moravsky, Koval, and Zubranka. Of course, Voschansk. Let's see if I could spot these towns really quick. I cannot, but that could be this entire area that they're talking about. So it's not easy to spot when they talk about the airstrikes. Try to find it. And as you can see, Kharkiv's kind of like the cities in America with suburbs all around it. I still can't see those off the top of my head. So we'll just move on for now. 16 times the enemy attacked our positions in the Kupiansk direction, in the vicinity of Gulubivka, Sinivka, Stepova, Novoselivka, Koloniskva, Brestovo, Zguryozovo, Krulivka, Vishnevo, Petroshavtrabnevo. Oof, that was a tough one. Units in the defense forces repulsed 10 assaults. 6 clashes are ongoing. So, one of the towns I wanted to point out was Stepova Novoselivka. Is pretty much the eastern point of this pocket. This is Ukraine's main stop to Russia at this moment in this pocket. So hard fight in this town. Petropavlivka is here. Gulubivka is right there north of Kupiansk. As you can see, Russia's pushing into this. The area along this river is fairly stable. Russia's not trying to advance along it. They're trying to push down this river turning into the reservoir. Bolshosolivka is there. And on to the next direction. So they said Liman direction is pretty heavy right now. Let's take a look. Liman direction, Russian troops attacked Ukrainian defenders 9 times today in the areas of Grivka, Turna, and Dibrova settlements. Let's see. Dibrova is a new one. I can't seem to locate it either. Dibrova, because it's under this, the majority of the town. And you can see there's not much to the town. There's 2 lines of housing. So Dibrova is there. And Bilohorivka's there. And again, this is all area that was liberated back in September of 2022. And Russia's just trying to regain ground that they've lost already. That's not a good way to put it in some ways, but it is what it is. In Tourette's direction, search of Benivka, the enemy tried 4 times to improve its position in the Tourette's direction. In addition, the aggressor's aircraft bombarded the area of Drubra, Toretsk, and Petrivka settlements. So I'm guessing not much happened in this area, but of course, so the beach, Benivka, Petrivka, the Velivka. So all around Touretsk and in Touretsk itself. Deep State is not showing the update right now. Let's see if I can go back and show the last. So no, they haven't updated this. But there are reports that Ukraine has came in and let's go yellow. Came in and taken out these buildings, and the lines are looking more like that right now. Basically, they took over the northeast, north, or southwest facing buildings and was able to push Russian troops back out of this section. Of course, Deep State's not showing that yet, but I'm sure once they have video evidence of it, they'll update it. Deep State does not update on reports, it updates on videos released. In the Prokrasky direction, during this day, the aggressor attacked our positions 26 times. In the areas of Mirolubivka, Lipsivka, Promenny, Sukovyar, Novogorivka, and Vishnevo. 4 clashes are still ongoing. The preliminary estimates today, the occupiers lost 213 soldiers killed and wounded, an artillery system, an armored combat vehicle, and 3 units of the occupiers' vehicles were destroyed. Ukrainian defenders also caused significant damage to 4 artillery systems and an enemy tank. At this time, let's go to Pokrovsk. I almost skipped over doing this. Mirolubivka, Lysivka, Sukoyar, Yuroholivka, Novoselivka. So, yeah, they are showing that Seladov is almost completely controlled by Russia now. According to this map, there's like a little offshoot of the river and a little bit of area here. Yeah, they've been pouring troops into this area, Russia has. And I'll go into that more in a little bit here when I go to do the loss updates for the last couple days. At this time of day, 72 attacks were recorded in the Kharkiv direction. 72 attacks. 14 of them are ongoing. Mainly fighting continues in the district of Novoselodivka, Voschanka, Krimovolka, Antonivka, and Katerinivka. Novoselodivka, I'll just see if I can highlight these here for you. So Katerinivka is down here. Novoselidiv goes like right here. Kharkiv is almost completely under Russia control now. And yeah, in this area, there's been 72 assaults. Ukraine's been fighting over these two villages for a long time. They are holding fairly well. I'm hoping that this remains an anchor point, and well, this area is usually covered by the next area they talk about, the Rumika direction. And as you can see, Russia's not coming this way. They're going straight up into these undefendable areas, really. And Ukraine's making them pay for that ground. To touch on it, on a subject I'm going to go further into later, is Ukraine's trading ground to save lives. Russia is trading lives to take ground. And unfortunately, that's a case here. The lines were out this way. Let me draw this. So, the lines were something like that before, and then Russia took this area, put a huge attack into Vodani, to put pressure on Volodar. Once they had this little, there's like a little mine right here. Unfortunately, I have to clear this to zoom in. Vodani was being used as I wouldn't say a supply base, but like a position to rest troops that were here. And then it became a frontline town and then captured. And then that basically took the troops away from being able to reinforce this area, so they withdrew. And unfortunately, that collapsed the north of Volodar. Volodar was taken, and they did Ukraine had a small secondary defense line set up here when this town fell. And for a while back, you saw like Russia had that and was still, something like this. Volodar was only being supplied by this road line, and that meant artillery attacks and drone attacks on this road were horrendous. Eventually, they had to withdraw out of Volodar. So that's why after this, let's go to topographic. There isn't much topography in this area, not much natural defenses until you get up to here. But that's like the only spot, that little ravine along this whole front. So there wasn't really a way to get supplies to there without using a single road again. So I'm thinking Ukraine has set up their new defense lines along that area. So I think that's where we're going to see the line stop. And yeah, and over here, you're going to see the line stop. And anyways, that's, again, 72 attacks in one day from Katanivka and Antonivka on up. What I think is interesting is you see this little jut out from Maximilianivka. Russia tried like so many times pushing down this road and have been getting their behind torn a new hole. So I think Russia is trying to push out here to control this intersection better so they could try to push down this road into Kharkova. I think we're going to see some new videos on this road here very soon. Let's get back to the news here. 11 times today, the enemy stormed the front edge of our defense forces in the direction of Dudrovy. In the direction of Verminsk, 2 attacks are ongoing. And again, it was just that area I was talking about. Trudov and then Vermika. So they're trying to push into this town now. And so far, it looks like Ukraine's being able to stop them there. 3 times the enemy unsuccessfully tried to attack the positions of Ukrainian defenders in the Dnieper direction. And defense forces of Ukraine continue to operate in the Kursk direction. So we all know Kursk is up here. Not much has changed. This crossroad is still a heavy battle. You know, as you can see, half the town is Ukrainian controlled. The other half is in the gray zone. If Ukraine can take control of this intersection, you know, this intersection here, that severely hurts Russia's ability to defend this area. You know, Russia knows it, Ukraine knows it. It's very public information. You know, that's why Ukraine's trying to cut the road up here and, you know, cover and use drones and artillery to cut this road here. There's going to be a lot of action just for that little crossroad. Of course, the Dnipro direction, you know, it covers basically from Orhiv down to Kherson along the Dnipro Reservoir. And when they're talking about assaults in the area, they're generally talking about this area. Today we celebrate the soldiers of the 10th Mountain Assault Brigade, the 35th Separate Marine Infantry Brigade, and the 54th Separate Mechanized Brigade, who confidently hold the lines and inflict significant losses on the enemy. Let's beat the enemy and bring our victory closer. Glory to Ukraine, and of course, glory to the heroes. There's a couple videos I want to show from Zelensky. Let me get to the first one. I was on the other one. So
Все, Юля, все.
now there's a couple areas in this video. See if I could. That says it all. Deliberate attacks on civilians as a method of terrorizing the civilian population. And guess who's there? And there's a couple videos or images in here that have these investigators out there. One thing I also want to point out is when you look at videos like this, yeah, they're trying to get that lady out from the rubble. Keep in mind that Russia has a strategy of double tapping sites. So those people that are trying to pull her out are risking their life because Russia's going to bomb that area again to try and get these rescue workers. I'm going to put the air raid map up while I get the next video.
Дорогі українці, українки, сьогодні я хочу звернутися до наших партнерів щодо одного з базових елементів миру. Україна завжди радіє, коли вдається повернути з російського полону наших людей. Повернути додому воїнів, цивільних. Це надзвичайно складно, але ми робимо все, що можна, щоб обміни відбувалися. Проте найскладніше – повертати не дорослих, а дітей, маленьких українців, які вкрадені у рідних, дітей, які вивезені з тимчасово окупованої нашої території, вивезені в Росію, і яких Росія намагається сховати. Ніхто сьогодні не скаже точно, скільки їх. Ми знаємо про десятки тисяч. Це і зовсім маленькі діти, і підлітки, ті, у кого є рідні в Україні, і ті, чиї рідні, на жаль, загинули від російських ударів. Іноді щастить, і діти самі можуть вийти на зв'язок з волонтерами, правозахисниками чи своїми родичами в Україні. Але більшість росіяни просто позбавляють будь-яких засобів зв'язку, забирають та знищують документи дітей, відправляють їх в чужі російські сім'ї, в неволі. Не те, що роки, а кожен день має значення. І так само має значення кожне зусилля, яке допомагає звільняти наших людей. Цього тижня в Канаді відбулась конференція щодо пункту формули миру, який присвячений саме такому нашому завданню – повернути додому всіх українських полонених, всіх наших депортованих і вкрадених українців. Участь у конференції взяли понад 70 держав та міжнародних організацій. Є повна підтримка для наших людей, для нашої держави та для нашої мети. Кожен обмін полонених – це досягнення. Кожна дитина, яка повернулась додому в Україну – це щастя. Але всіх маємо повернути. Працює наша ініціатива Bring Kids Back UA. Разом з нами для цього об'єднані Арабські Емірати, Катар, Ватикан, країни-посередники та багато інших країн. Ми хочемо справжнього миру для України, для нашої землі та для всіх наших людей. І це справедливо. Справедливо повернути додому всіх, кого війною хотіли дому позбавити. Мир має бути надійним. Я дякую всім, хто допомагає Україні. Слава Україні!
Героям слава. I'm going to give the link for that video in chat. And ask you guys, download that video and post it wherever you can. Telegram, YouTube, well, I don't, not YouTube, but like Facebook, Twitter, flood it. Let people see what's really going on and what's really important to Ukraine. It's hard to come back with something after that hard of a video to watch. I've seen videos where people got turned to a mist from being shelled, and that doesn't affect me as much as that video we just watched. Share it around. Get people informed. Get people bringing the children back. There's nurses that were also taken everyday people just deported to Russia because Russia, when Kherson was taken, not Kherson, Mykolaiivka in Mariupol, the evacuation routes for civilians to get out of the city was cut by Russia, so they would have to go into Russia to get away from the fighting. And they took those people's papers, and they are basically stuck in Russia without any paperwork, trying to get back to Ukraine. So it's not just children's, it's entire families that Russia has sent all over Russia to try and hide them from the West to cover up the war crimes and keep people from going back to Ukraine. Go over the air raids really quick. Chernihiv, 18 minutes. The one before was 6 hours, 23 minutes. Sumi's at 1 hour. The previous one was 7 hours, 23 minutes. Kharkiv's at 24 minutes. And you notice like certain parts of Kharkiv, they've been under alerts for a long time. Voschansk, 168 days. You know, bomb alerts in Voschansk for 176 days. The Petska, 176 days. That's how long. Go up here. Lipitsky, Voschansk. That's how long these areas have been under attack and bombarding and artillery strikes from Russia. 176 days. And that's as far as Russia's gotten in 176 days. Kirnograd has been 7 minutes. Svitlovodska city and its territorial community has been under air alert for 8 hours. Poltava, 8 hours and 17 minutes. Cherkasky, 5 hours and 9 minutes. Kiev region, 6 hours and 17 minutes. So, really long air alerts, mostly due to the Shahed drones, because they launch them and they loiter for hours. And if one gets shot down, Russia just sends another one to keep the air alert going and keep the population in fear overnight. So let me go and grab yesterday's, because I didn't do yesterday's. So yesterday, total combat losses of the enemy, 1,410 personnel, 12 tanks, 36 APVs, 10 artillery systems, 70 UAVs, 46 vehicles, 1 cruise missile, and 1 special equipment. And the very, very interesting one for today, I guess is a way to put it, is 1,300 personnel, bringing the total enemy losses to 700,390 people. That is Russia's losses so far in this war. The reason I wanted to point that out specifically is, a year ago today, November 4th, the 4th of November, 2023, Russian losses 1 year ago today was 304,100 personnel. So let me pull this out of the way a minute. And I'm going to put these side by side for you. So, in a year, Russia has lost 396,000 troops. In a year. more than the previous year and a half, year and 9 months to this point last year. Think about that again. 400,000 troops. Tanks, 5,276 last year, 9,193 this year. APVs, 9,938 last year, a year ago, 18,538. Almost another 9,000 APVs just in this last year. Almost 4,000 tanks in a year. Let me ask you a question. We always see the news reports, Ukraine's getting ready to collapse. But Russia's losing 400,000? Yeah, YouTube's being weird today. It's not giving out notifications, and like the streams I watched, I couldn't even talk in chat. Yeah, it's been all weekend. Well, and this is just, reported losses. This isn't the losses that Ukraine doesn't see. It's a weird thing to think about, but this is Ukrainian reported losses that they can visually confirm. The guys that get shot by the Chechens for running away, Ukraine doesn't see those. The guys that get shot for trying to not follow orders or object to their commanders, those aren't included in here. So easily it could be that 4,000 could be made up fairly quickly. Aircrafts. I want to point this out. Aircrafts. 322, but we're only at 369. Russia is so afraid of using aircrafts, so afraid of using aircraft that can be touched by Ukrainian defenses. They just don't use them anymore for anything but glide bombs. They drop them miles behind the line and let the bombs fly into Ukraine. Kind of sucks, but it is what it is. Here's another interesting one for you. 7,363 artillery systems last year, a year ago. 20,121. So almost 13,000 artillery systems have been blown up this year. UAVs, 5,534 to 18,280. Again, almost 13,000 UAVs that Russia has used in the last year that have been taken out. Those aren't even the ones that got through. Boats hasn't changed much, only 8 more. Still only 1 submarine. Cruise missiles, 1,151. A year later, 2,629. almost double the previous almost 2 years of the war. You notice one thing though, is they don't put the number of days on the oh wait, yeah, they do. 985. 619. So basically half of Russia's losses have been in the last 300 days of the war compared to the first 300 days or first 600 days. So who's getting ready to collapse? Yeah, aim higher than the kneecaps, KK. But yeah, 500K was a milestone. 700K is going to be considered a milestone. And, you know, to put this in further perspective for you, because everybody kept track of the losses on January 1st, and it was 320,000 on January 1st. So from this time till the first of the year, last year, Russia lost 16,000 people. Keep an eye on this number. And January 1st, see how much more than 16,000 that number gets to. And yet all the news articles saying that Ukraine's getting ready to collapse. Ukraine attacks North Korean troops deployed near Russia border. I'm not going to click on The Guardian, but inexperienced, poorly trained, and underfed, the North Korean troops are heading to the front. There was one video released of the North Korean actually shooting Russians. It's kind of an interesting video. I can't show it on YouTube, unfortunately, because most of it would have to be blurred. But it was up in Kursk. Russia and Korean forces were trying to move forward in the town, and Ukrainians started attacking, and the North Koreans started shooting at the Russians instead of the Ukrainians, and the Russians ended up surrendering to Ukraine to keep from the North Koreans killing them. And yeah, it was an interesting video. And again, here we are. Ukraine is facing serious problems in the east, where Russia's forces are grinding forward. Yeah, Russian forces are being ground, but not forward. They're being ground into the dirt. I'll agree with this one. Ukraine is facing one of the most powerful Russian offensives of the war. It's because Russia is throwing meat waves. How else do you lose almost 500,000 people in a year of war? This is a time where, yeah, it's very critical for Ukraine, but it's also really critical for Russia because they're hurting for troops. at this point. I'm going to show you something on my Discord that I did the math on the other day. How do I hide names? There we go. Why are people still fighting or signing up to serve the Russian military? Russia is offering a 2 million ruble sign-on bonus for soldiers to sign a year contract. And then offering a pay of 700,000 rubles a month and a death benefit of 3 million rubles. So the average wage in Russia is 63,000 rubles a month. So you do the math on this, and the sign-up bonus and wages for the 1-year contract is roughly equivalent to 3.5 years of wages in Russia. And of course, further perspective, this is like offering a U.S. citizen $800,000 for a year of service. How many people do you know would sign up for a year of service for almost $1 million? That's how Russia is getting people. I mean, when you literally have to bribe people with $1 million, equivalent of $1 million, I should say, to get them to just sign up. And granted, like most of that time, these don't get paid out. It gets stolen by other commanders. One woman that I thought was interesting was like troops that had died. The commander wasn't reporting them dead and was collecting their monthly wages from them. So their family wasn't getting that $3 million rubles in payout, and the commander was still collecting that person's money for the month. They aren't, a lot of them aren't being made, but some of them are. I think it's the equivalent of 29 billion has been paid out by Russia. So, I mean, and that's basically the oil money that Russia is paying out. It's basically a penny a ruble. So, I mean, it's not a whole lot when you look at it from an American perspective. Well, I guess it kind of is. Because 700k rubles becomes like 7,000 a month. You know, 20 million's like 20,000. So, I mean, I'm happy with my life, even though I don't make even that much. I'm content with my life, so I that wouldn't entice me. 800,000 US dollars would entice me. I'd sign up and hope for a job in the backfield doing logistics, but I know I'm smart. I know that wouldn't be the case with Russia. Newly published documents from invasion's first week reveal Putin's plans to render post-war Ukraine powerless. Russia's initial proposal for a peace agreement with Ukraine, which the Kremlin drafted shortly after launching its full-scale war against the country, reveals exactly what Russia was seeking. Come on, where's the meat of this stuff? Russia's main demand was to become a permanently neutral state, never join NATO. We all knew about that one. Now, here you go. Russian initial demands. Ukrainian army must be reduced to a minimum 50,000 people. 5 times smaller than Ukraine's existing army in 2022. Ukraine must not develop, produce, invent, or deploy on its territory any missile weapons of any type with a range greater than 250 kilometers. Russia also reserves the right to ban Ukraine from using any other type of weapons that may be developed as a result of scientific research in the future. Recognize the independence of Luhansk and Donetsk People's Republics. Assume all the costs of repairing infrastructure in Donbass that has been destroyed since 2014. Ukraine and its partners must lift all sanctions against Russia and withdraw all lawsuits filed against Russia since 2014. Make Russian the official state language and restore the property rights of the Moscow Patriarchy. Repeal of and permanently ban any prohibitions of symbols associated with the victory over Nazism. In other words, it must re-legalize Soviet and communist symbols. Essentially, the only thing that Russia was offering Ukraine at the beginning of the war was a ceasefire and a halt to combat operations. No mention of withdrawal for Russian troops from Ukrainian territory. Basically, they wanted to make Ukraine easier to roll over in a couple of more years. Yeah, that was a peace proposal by Russia right after they invaded. Wall Street Journal, the nerdy gamers who became Ukraine's deadliest drone pilots. Of course, that's going to be behind a paywall, so can't even bother clicking on that. Okay. The perfect has become the enemy of the good in Ukraine. No, thanks. Of course, starts off talking about Trump and his refusal to answer that he just wants to stop the war. No, so complete fluff piece. There's no real information in this thing whatsoever. So I don't know what the hell they're talking about. Oh, Russia hits grim troop loss milestone. Talking about the 700K reach today. So Putin runs low on non-mobilization options. Figures do not specify killed or wounded, though overall consensus is that includes dead, wounded, missing, and captured. They are broadly in line with Western estimates. Russians' tactic of throwing men into what Ukrainian officials have called a meat grinder is working. Moscow seized more territory in its war against Ukraine over the past week than at any other point in 2024. Yeah, anytime this year, Russia's gained more ground now than any other time this year, which could be said about anything that gained, they've also lost more ground than they've lost anytime this year when you consider Kursk. So it's like picking and choosing points to make it sound like you're doing good. With the losses growing, the situation becomes trickier for the Kremlin. Excuse me. My throat's still not back to normal. I apologize. Situation becomes trickier for the Kremlin, which requires additional troops to continue the ongoing advances in Ukraine. While not disclosing its losses in Ukraine, Russian Emergency Ministry on November 2nd published an updated manual on how to dig mass graves during wartime. I'm sorry, that's not something you should laugh at, but that's funny. Let me pull that off too. Okay, it just talks about it. That's not the actual manual, but Russian military authorities are trying to walk the line between the need for more troops because of the wasteful way they are fighting this war, and also not wanting to have a real mass mobilization. It's tricky from a public relations point of view because they don't want to admit quite how dire things are, but nevertheless, they still have to get more people in the door to carry on with the war. And that's why they're offering 200 million rubles to sign on and 700,000 rubles a month. Putin announced mobilization for back in September 22 that proved highly unpopular and led to 250,000 people fleeing the country. Putin has tried to avoid a second wave, instead relying on a variety of other methods to boost manpower, such as bribes. The other one they're using is they're offering people, they're playing Monopoly and offering a get out of jail free card if you go serve in Ukraine. So, All healthy Russians, men aged 18 to 30, are eligible for conscription. They have to serve for 1 year. It would, it sounds decent, but there's a law in Russia that they can't actually send those people to military combat outside of Russia unless a war is called. So he either has to call it a war or he has to not use like the normal conscripts. Russia has a mandated service of 1 year. So yeah, they can be drafted for 1 year, but Russia can't send them to fight in Ukraine. And these are the people that Ukraine captured when they first invaded Kursk, and why there was a huge step up in prisoner exchanges, because Russia was trying to get these people back, because these people were not people that signed the contract, but the high schoolers that did their 1 year service right out of high school. Again, one of the biggest motivators to get Russian men to sign up is money. Okay, so here it's saying only 400,000 for sign up. $4,600. Doubled lump sum payment. Okay. That's okay. This is why I got that number. Some regions of Russia have implemented their own even higher rates. Belgorod governor announced on October 7th that residents there will get paid a nationwide record 3 million rubles for signing up. The average monthly salary across the country in June was 65,000 rubles, basically $735. And they're offering them like 31,000 just to sign up. I mean, that's years and years of work to make that kind of money. If they survive it, it would be a huge game changer. And if they were actually paid it. Up to now, Putin has had a deal with Russian society. These more prosperous sections of society are going to be pretty much isolated from real sacrifice. So like Moscow, St. Petersburg, if you're living in an apartment with a toilet, you're good. If you're a poor person out in the rural country, you're screwed, in other words. Of course, criminals, getting troops from North Korea. Of course, Ukraine is facing its own manpower mobilization issues. Stated November 2nd in an interview that it's necessary to mobilize 500,000 citizens. That's not true. Ukraine was only asking for 160,000 mobilizations. So yeah, it's of course pretty grim for Ukrainians what they say, but yeah, from what I've heard from multiple sources, is not 500,000. It was 160,000. Again, Zelensky braces for darkest hour. It's hard to believe that. I wish I could click on it to read more about it, but Newsweek behind a paywall. Again, from the Kiev Independent, overstretched Ukrainian forces struggle to contain Russia's advance. Ukraine is trading ground to save lives. Russia is trading lives to take ground. It's what it is. Get over it, people. Russia's going to gain ground, but they're using people to do it. Ukraine's saving people and giving up ground to save those people. That's facts. And then we're back to the U.S. dumbass that supports Russia. Okay, one thing I wanted to touch on, and sadly, that is the U.S. election, since election day is tomorrow. Oop. 700 to win. Mainly, I'm not going to cover all this. And okay, they're saying Arizona has gone Trump, but winning combinations. Supposedly, Camilla has 10 combinations to win. Trump has 13. But if you look at the combinations to win, 7 of the 10 combinations that Harris has to win involve only winning 3 states. 13 of combinations for Trump to win. If you notice, 1, 2, 3 of them do not involve winning Pennsylvania. And that's because Arizona switched over. So it's kind of, and that's just by polls. It's not by actual data just yet. If you take Arizona back to gray, it's a very minor thing. I wish you could right click to click the other way, but Pennsylvania is going to be one of the key states, and they're saying Arizona's red. Okay, fine, whatever. If Trump doesn't win Pennsylvania, he has very few options otherwise. Out of the 10, 6 of them for Harris involve winning Pennsylvania. So Trump is in a kind of must-win for Pennsylvania, where Harris doesn't have to win it. But again, it's just polls. We'll see tomorrow. But that's one thing I wanted to touch on. This is 270 to win website. Check it out for yourself if you want to see how it goes with the election. Right now, they're saying Harris is down 4 electoral votes. But there's so many different ways for it to go still. But I think Pennsylvania is going to be key. Again, Trump has to win Pennsylvania. I mean, he has to win. If he doesn't win Pennsylvania, let's go back a second here. Say Camilla wins Pennsylvania. He has to win a lot of he has to win a lot of other stuff to win. Something's not right here. Oh, because I did the wrong color. Yeah, sorry about that. Camilla wins Pennsylvania. Well, you saw that Camilla only had like 6 options to win. Well, even if she wins Pennsylvania, she still has 6 options to win. But Trump goes from 13 to 4 possibilities. So I think Pennsylvania is going to be the race to watch. And that's why they're all doing their speeches in Pennsylvania right now. So yeah, get out there, vote, keep the sport alive for Ukraine. Oh, trust me, I want it over with already. I've avoided talking about the election till now, but I just wanted to touch on Pennsylvania for you, give you a way to figure it out early if you wanted to. The thing that sucks is my birthday is November 6th. So my birthday generally falls on either voting day or the day after, which everybody's always talking about politics on my birthday. And I've learned to freaking hate my birthday because of that. Hutter Q's air alert has gone off. Let's go quickly through some of the other news stories on the ZCU website. And okay, I'm trying to catch up with you guys in chat. So let me go back to the air alert map and catch up with you in chat. Yeah, Starsky's mod stream was cool, and Katie mentioned me, so it made my heart sing a little bit. I still say Starsky needs to do an Operator Sharksky stream. And just remember, folks, Operator Sharksky says Russians are food, not friends. No, I mean they're not gaining anything. You're right, KK. It's very minuscule. Yeah, that's one of the reasons. Yeah, let me just like hit the back button. Let's go all the way back to March. Okay, that's the front lines in March of this year. Hit the play button. See if you can spot the pixels that change. Okay, there has to be a way to play this faster. Are you seeing this pixels change? Most of those are just because they're putting in arrows. Not actual captured ground, it's just the arrows changing. Just to prove my point. So yeah, little tiny steps. And it's the arrows that you really see. But again, do you see the pixels change? Do you see any pixels change? I'm about to see a whole bunch of pixels change up here. This is what Russia is considering a great victory and why Ukraine's about to collapse. And it's literally let's pause this. So this is the main area they've made advances in. You're talking that much has changed. Yeah. What about all this? Huh? Ukraine's going to collapse because they lost that little sliver. And Russia spent 400,000 people to do it. It's like, yeah, I don't get our reporters. Anyways, let's go through some of the headlines from ZCU News. International Partner Conference within the framework of the multinational Interflex operation for training Ukrainian military for 2025. So, story about a guy that took out a tank and a IFV. Representatives of our forces Ukraine took part in a festival of innovative startups. Sororsky Challenge. Festival for Innovations for Peace and Security of Ukraine. That's kind of cool. I'll have to try and see if I can get there for the next one. It was attended by representatives of the Armed Forces Ukraine, Defense Industrial Complex, foreign companies, scientific organizations, international funds. Armed Forces Ukraine noted that among the priority latest technical that doesn't read well. The translation is not good. What the Ukrainian GCU is interested in is in the fields of radio electronic warfare, UAVs, ground robotics, and the use of artificial intelligence to increase the efficiency. Sounds like a cool conference to be part of. War is a combination of people and weapons. Oh yeah, it sounds like an interesting thing to check out. Oops. New stage of the project of psychological rehabilitation. So, Ukraine's trying to address the psychological needs of their military personnel after the war, even before the war's over. That's pretty much all the other stories on here. I know a couple other streams are starting to come up soon, so I am going to get out of your hair. I thank you all for coming. I thank you for supporting Ukraine. Have a good night and stay safe, everybody. Разом де переможемо.